Welcome to the Divorce View Talk Show. Hi, it's Joanie Winberg, divorce mentor, founder of FreshStartAfterDivorce.com, as well as GettingAlongSolutions.com. It's always a pleasure to do this show together with my co-host, Rosalind Sedacca. So hello, Roz.
Hi, Joanie. Great to see you again this week. I'm Rosalind Sedacca. I'm a divorce and parenting coach, founder of the Child-Centered Divorce Network, and author of How Do I Tell the Kids About the Divorce. And I'm excited this week to talk about International Child-Centered Divorce Month, which takes place throughout January. It's a month when you can get special access to resources, services, books, trainings, programs, videos from divorce experts on 4 continents around the world. And it's all at one website, which we'll be telling you about. And tonight's guest is one of our premier sponsors of that website and someone who has created a wonderful service for anyone who is co-parenting. So listen carefully because we have some great co-parenting tips to share with you. I want to introduce you to Hanif Virani, and he's CEO of CoParently. Welcome, Hanif.
Thank you, Rosalind. I'm very pleased to be here.
We're thrilled to have you, and we've got a great topic that we're going to be talking about tonight. It's actually how to ease the co-parenting experience for yourself as well as your children. So I'm excited to get started to offer some great tips and value for our listeners. What would you, how would you like to start off with some great tips? Which ones would you like to start with?
Well, we advocate very much about putting your children first. And essentially ensuring that everything you do in this new relationship that you're having with your co-parent is focused on putting the children first and children's welfare. And I mean, to begin with, a lot of that has to do with just some time and some perspective in terms of understanding that this is the new way you're going to parent. You've gone from an emotive, romantic relationship to what we like to say is a business-like parenting relationship, where the business is your parents. Is your children, and you as parents are really responsible for the health and well-being of those children. And of course, all of us as parents want the best for our children.
Absolutely.
When faced with divorce and separation, though, it does make things more challenging, and especially in the beginning until you get proper routines and procedures put in place. And that's why we say it's kind of like a business. It's kind of like running a business, and your end goal in this business is for healthy, successful children.
Happy children.
Before we go any further, I just want to clarify for our viewers, what is coparently.com? What do they find there, and what kind of a resource are you?
CoParently.com is an online calendar and communication tool for divorced and separated parents. Our goal is to help parents with communication and scheduling. And what we found was that the most difficult things when you're going through divorce is actually the two things is the finances, and the other thing is children, parenting time, custody time, and communication about those children. Both parents are still involved in the everyday life of those children, and often because of the separation, that communication becomes strained and more difficult. And what we wanted to do was give parents a set of tools that help them get to that business-like parenting relationship. So the number one tool that everybody uses in business is a calendar and email. We would all be lost without our calendar and email. What we wanted to do is provide a specific tool for parents so that they can eliminate the sort of the he said, she said, and not use the children as messengers. And this way they can communicate, they can do everything very easily around scheduling, communication, and expenses.
And I would say that it probably really helps, as you mentioned, to take out the emotions of the he said, she said, where they're not misinterpreting the tone or that, so it's just business. And it does remove the emotion, and that's probably where the conflicts really start. So this is fabulous. This really does help the parents put the kids first.
Yes, it also, the other thing we wanted to do is also ensure that their communication was clear and understood. Often when parents have gone through a separation or divorce, there's so much emotion involved. And what tends to happen is that communication between the parents tends to be often misunderstood. And it's not sort of malicious in any way, just because there's so much, there's been so much emotion between the two parents. When one parent says something, the other parent often either interprets it a different way or different to what the original parent was saying. So for instance, with scheduling, what we found was often when schedules are written either in emails or text messages or even in court documents every second Tuesday, and whenever they're written out, there's very often a misunderstanding of what it is that's going on, because that's not how we understand scheduling. Most of us understand scheduling through a calendar. So what we did was built a platform that allows parents to clear up that communication by saying, okay, look, I've got the children this week, you have them next week. I need to go away for business at the beginning of that week. Can you have them for an extra few days, and have them until Wednesday? And that goes into the calendar, so there's no misconception of, oh, I thought you meant this Wednesday, not next Wednesday, or whatever it may be. It's right there. It's clear and concise.
Do you find that it helps so that if the parents still have to communicate live on the phone, that helps ease the emotions, because they can both go on the calendar and look at it together and say, okay, next week I am away on travel, so that does really help a lot, you finding?
Yes, absolutely. And when they're both working off the same calendar, they're both on the same page, so that helps a lot. What we've found actually is when parents use CoParently, we're finding that they don't need to speak on the phone as much. A lot of it can be done through the CoParently platform in terms of communication and scheduling. And those phone conversations are reduced significantly. Also, what we've found is there's a lot less argument and misunderstanding during the transitions when the child's going from one home to the other. They tend to be a lot easier because both parents are on the same page, and they know that if there has to be a discussion about anything, they can take that offline and not have it in front of the child.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to note that studies time and time again have proven that it's the conflict between parents that really creates the most emotional and psychological damage to the children. They don't want to be burdened by hearing it. They feel terrible listening to their parents fighting. They hate to be forced to take sides, one or the other. It's a very disturbing situation for children. So any tool that you can use that's going to reduce conflict is going to be a real plus for co-parenting more effectively. And this is a great way of doing it. It also cleans up the communication so that when you're writing emails, for example, you could be more businesslike, more curt, more direct, and get out of throwing in the adjectives and the emotions and the language that you may have used when you were fighting. And when one parent is more respectful, the other one tends to follow suit in that way. Mm-hmm. So there's a real plus in using a tool that forces you to be a little more mature and responsible, and remember that you're a parent and that these are your children that you're talking about, as Hanif had mentioned.
Absolutely. And to me, Raj, you listed a lot of the benefits of having such a program because of, just the things you just mentioned that can really help parents get along, so that for the sake of the children, and helping them think about the children and realize that they don't want to hear the arguing or or see the parents pointing the finger at each other. So this just avoids that whole situation. Have you ever had any other situations where the parents still had difficulty even with your great tool here?
Oh yeah, I mean, and what we say is CoParently isn't going to eliminate all of that difficulty in any relationship, no matter how good or how bad. There's always going to be misunderstanding, and there's always going to be some element of friction. furthermore, we're all human.
Right.
No matter how many tools you have and what happens, parents are going to make mistakes, whether you're together or whether you're separated. And what we advocate is, hey, look, sometimes they're honest mistakes, and that is going to happen. What we say is, put your hand up and say, yes, that was a mistake. What we found is people who use our tool, often what happens is, where there's a perception that one parent is making a lot of these mistakes, in actuality what's happened is there's very few of those mistakes that happen. The tool documents that and sort of shows where the mistakes happen, and hopefully the parents, those sort of mistakes won't happen again.
Mm-hmm.
What else have you learned about co-parenting as a result of having this service available?
I've learned that it needs to be cooperative. There needs to be a give and take on both sides, and often you're going to have to do some things that you're not necessarily 100% on board with, but you know that the other parent is, and you have to understand that a lot of it is, both parents have the right to parent the way they want to write, as long as it's in a safe and healthy manner. And children are going to benefit the most when both parents are involved. And often what that means in these sort of situations is sometimes you have to do and agree to things that you may not normally, or may make you a little bit angry, but it's in the best interest of your children, and sometimes you have to move on.
Yeah.
It's called compromise, whether you're married or divorced, right?
Correct, exactly.
And I always remind clients that you want to be able to pick your battles. And this is a great way of realizing that you can't fight about every detail of how your ex may be parenting differently than you. Perhaps that's even why you got the divorce in the first place. But it isn't effective. So you have to learn how to compromise and cooperatively parent. And then when you do have differences that are major enough, those are the times when you have to really sit down and have discussions, or bring in a professional to help you mediate the conflict. But let a lot go, because your children are going to bounce back from differences in parenting much better than they bounce back from being subjected to conflict.
Absolutely. That's why I love helping people understand their different personalities. As we talked about before, we tend to marry our opposites. And so if someone comes on strong with that tone of that you're angry, and sometimes that might not be why, or that person is my way, the highway, or based on ego, that particular personality, the person that's the opposite would be more the one that's shy and wants harmony. So that would really help that couple, because that you won't hear that ego, you won't hear that tone. Maybe you'll see it in the email, but it's really helps. And if a person can be a big enough adult, I say, to look in the mirror and say, you know what, I need to be aware of my tone. And that's where I see in my clients that they really have taken the responsibility for their own stuff. So maybe between this, it'll help ease the conflict until they can work on themselves and move forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Hanif, do most people come on board immediately after the divorce, or do some people wait 6 months or even a year after and find that they haven't been working well and now they're reaching out?
We're finding all sorts, actually. So we're finding that many people are coming on right at the beginning, and we're having a lot of, this is January, this is, officially or unofficially divorce month. We have a lot of new customers that are just in the beginning stages of their divorce and separation, and they're coming on board now, and we applaud them because they're actually putting the right foundation in place for moving forward for their co-parenting relationship. We're also finding that a lot of parents are coming on. We're recommended a lot through parenting coordinators, and parenting coordinators use our service a lot because, for one, it saves their clients money, and for two, it allows them to be more effective. They can instantly see what it is that's going on in the relationship with the communication. they find it easier to settle disputes because they can see what the schedule was supposed to be, who agreed to what, when it was proposed, when it was accepted, if it was declined. So we're really getting from all aspects. In January, though, we're getting a lot of people who have just decided to separate.
Mm-hmm. So you're actually, so if a parent puts in their schedule, then the other parent has the right to say, or to decline. I just wanted to get clarity on that.
Yes. So
Okay.
so what happens is you put in the original schedule, and the other parent has the ability to say yes or no.
Okay.
When they say yes, what we ask them to do is usually put in their standard schedule, what either their parenting plan has put forward or their court order, what they've agreed to. And then from there, what it allows you to do is to do exceptions. So if it's a week on and a week off, and then you want to have 2 weeks at spring break or have an extra weekend, one parent can propose it in the calendar. It goes to the other parent for approval. If they approve it, that's all documented. If they decline it, that's all documented as well. So so that both parents are really on the same page. And if they get to a point where they can't agree and they need to either bring a professional in or go back to court, they've got a trail of everything that's happened and when it's happened, and boy, does it save them a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of stress, because whether it's a judge or whether it's a mediator, it's a lot easier to get to the bottom of the situation if you have that documentation and that communication history.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How about the children? Have you received testimonials from the kids or anything like that, saying, "Oh my goodness"?
We don't actually get to speak to many children. We do have within the service. It does allow you to, if your child is, what we say is, if your child's older and has an email address and has either a handheld device or their own laptop, they can have access to the service as well. They only get access to the calendar, though. They don't get access to the communication, so that they're totally shielded from that. But a lot of the times, kids like to know where they're going to be. We find that often if parents are in very close proximity to each other, and the children are going from home to home quite frequently, and the kids are older, they've got a handheld device and they like to see where they're supposed to be.
No, but I mean, as far as, have you also received, maybe the kids don't know any different, but gee, my parents are getting along, there's less conflict. Maybe you wouldn't hear that. I don't know.
No, we don't normally talk to the children, so we haven't heard that. We have heard from the parents. We do hear from grandparents as well,
okay.
And new spouses and so on and so forth, how much of a difference the service has made. Often grandparents are on CoParently as guests so that they can be involved in kids' activities and so on and so forth. And we often get comments back from them how much easier it is for them to stay involved and for their children to communicate with their ex about their grandkids. It's really quite nice.
I love that. I love the fact that grandparents can come on as guests and that they're taking advantage of all of that. It just creates more harmony. It's so important to have extended family that remains into the reach of children after divorce, that they're not losing access to grandparents and cousins and other relatives. So that's wonderful. Glad to hear that.
Mm-hmm. Why don't we make sure they have your website too, Hanif, so that they know where to go. Make sure. I know it's on your tag there, but we'll just double check. Make sure.
Yeah, it's coparently.com, so it's just coparently.com.
Okay, excellent. Anything else you'd like to share? Any testimonials or stories, or just even from parents, themselves, to say, this has just really helped. We're not so stressed out. We seem to be getting along better than I thought we would, or maybe not.
Well, we're not getting very much of. We're getting along better. What we are getting is that we're in less conflict. There's less miscommunication. And I mean, if you those of you who have children, the amount of activities there is, the school activities, the play dates, the sports, all the different things that are involved with kids' lives these days, and how important it is for both parents to be involved. And what we've been told is with our tool, even from parents, even from co-parents who have the most amicable separation ever, we've heard from parents who who they don't argue at all. And one of the parents is said to us, "Hey, look, this is great. Although we've got the best co-parenting relationship in the world, this tool allows me to go forth my day and not have to call my ex to find out when the next soccer practice is, or what time the play date's finished, and what the kids are doing, how they did on swimming, so on and so forth." It gives them a platform. We find a lot of parents share the report cards through CoParently, so they just either take a picture of the report card from their phone and share it, or upload it as a PDF from their computer. So they're really it's really clearing up that communication and sort of keeping it on track.
And I can see how it really makes it a business, and that's exactly what it needs to be in this stage.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Also, why don't you tell us a little bit about the financial facet of what you can do with the tool?
So what well, I guess in mid 2014 we launched the expenses category, and from talking to our parents, we learned that aside from communication, keeping track of expenses, it was another sort of serious pain point for them. And what we did is we launched a part of the service that allows you to track the expenses. And when we originally did it, you could put an expense in, and then you'd have to sort of reconcile a payment for that. And what we very quickly found out is that's not really the way parents work with expenses. So one parent might be paying for some things, the other parent might be paying for other things, and really what they want to do is know is who owes who what. If I've paid, for clothes and you've paid for soccer, what's the difference? What do we owe each other? So the tool gives you a running total of who owes who what. And we're finding that very helpful. The next thing that we're working on is called lists. And this is sort of the next pain point that we've heard from our parents, and that is often things are forgotten between transitions. So what lists will do is allow you to add a list of items, so for ballet or for soccer, a list of things that your children need, and the system will take a look in the next transition, what events are tied to lists. So is there soccer practice and ballet practice in the next after the next transition? If there is, it'll produce a list for the parent to say, did you pack the soccer cleats? Did you pack the ballet stuff? And you can just say yes, yes, yes. And it allows you sort of a very easy way to say, oh, yes, yes, we remembered this. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Off you go.
I would think it'd be even great to put in there, they need to eat, pack a lunch.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes, yes.
Well, the last thing you need is a child hungry and they're upset, so it's like, remember the food, remember the drinks.
Yep, there can be that. Yeah, often
the resource lists. I love that, because I remember how often things were forgotten between homes, and it becomes a real pain who's going where to deliver what was left behind.
Yeah. One of the impetuses for this was one of our parents. They kept forgetting the child's favorite stuffy, and none of the parents realized until right before bedtime, at which point it's too late to get it. But then the child's upset. Yeah. So with lists, what we're hoping is that we'll be able to produce that list for you to sort of check off the things that need to go in between home and home every time every time the children transition.
And stuffies at the top of the list.
Stuffies and blankets are at the top of the list, yes.
Absolutely. Is there anything you'd like to share with our listeners to kind of pull this all together? Some great words of wisdom.
Well, really, what we're trying to do now is, aside from the product features and listening to our parents about things that they would like to see changed and things that they would like to see made easier, what we're going to start doing is asking parents to sort of make a commitment to co-parent better. And really, that's going to be focusing on always making sure that the things you're doing are in the best interest of the child, and that you're never asking the child to choose sides, as well as you're always ensuring that you're protecting them from conflict. So this is the sort of thing that we're going to try to ask our parents to sort of make a commitment to. Another thing we sort of want our parents to understand from both sides is that parents are going to make mistakes.
Yes.
Things are going to be forgotten. Things are going to be done, quite possibly wrong. But they are human. And the thing is that what we need to do is ensure that we understand that those are mistakes and that we move past them. And we're finding that from a lot of our parents, the ones that are really the most successful are the ones that can own a mistake when it happens, and quickly move past it, and hopefully try that, understand that that was a mistake, and hopefully that won't happen again.
And give that parent the benefit of the doubt. Hopefully that would...
Correct. That we would want in return for when we make mistakes.
Exactly. And that's one of the parenting skills that I focus on so much in my coaching work is to understand that your ex is much more likely to be cooperative and do you a favor when you initiate and start by doing favors. And so you have to reach that accord, remembering that this is all about your children. That's why you're there together. That's why your lives are still entwined, and you both love those children. So that's a pivotal point, and it's just that's why I highly recommend CoParently, because I think they really do the job right in making this available. And speaking of which, during January, International Child-Centered Divorce Month, CoParently is on our special website, and they are offering 3 months free trial. So any of you who are listening can take advantage of that great bonus during January. And the place to go to check out all the gifts and bonuses and resources is divorcedparentsupport.com/ebook. That's divorced with an ED. divorcedparentsupport.com/ebook. When you get there, you'll enter your email address and receive my ebook on post-divorce parenting. And then the link will take you to the website page with all the other listings where Joanie has wonderful product and CoParently is offering their services, as well as other ebooks and videos and audios and coaching services. It's just a potpourri from divorce experts around the world, and it's
excellent.
A wonderful, valuable resource for everyone to take advantage of. Take a peek, find what you like, what works for you, and then move ahead knowing that you're getting expert advice.
Well, we want to thank you again for being on our show, Hanif. It's just, you always bring such value to the show, and have this fabulous tool to, bottom line, to help parents get along, move on with their life, and be the best parent they can be, the best role model, and co-parent as smoothly as possible for the kids' sake. So well, we appreciate that.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. And also to our listeners, to listen to this fabulous show today, again, go to divorceview.com. You can also view all of our other shows. We actually have now 40 different fabulous shows with all experts. That, it's just amazing, all the experts that bring us valuable information like today. So once again, go to divorceview.com. But in the meantime, enjoy your week, and tune in next Wednesday at the same time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and otherwise we'll see you then.